I wanted to talk some about ascension. Ascension is a word you'll hear in spiritual circles, bandied about, talked about a lot. Ascension schools, ascended masters, etc. And ascension is then the idea of stepping up in vibratory frequency so that you merge back with what we call heaven, or an enlightened state where you can move about freely. And this is talked about a lot. Of course it's true, it's real. Real masters, Babaji, Jeshua ben David, Jesus Christ, Krishna, avatars. Avatars are descensions from the divine, fully merged, free energy state. When our energy is free, it is not locked up inside cells, physicality. It can come and go in and out of physicality, sliding scale, as you can slide a frequency dialer on the radio dial. You can slide it back and forth, or in the electromagnetic spectrum you can go from red to ultraviolet, you know. You can slide, there's different frequencies. So in an ascended state, the misunderstanding, I'm going to speak about some of the misunderstandings about it. There was a time about 20 years ago where a partner of mine and I, we started experiencing teachings from the ascended masters. And they have to be careful, these ascended masters. Some people say they live in Mount Shasta, and there are centers in Mount Shasta, and then in the Tetons as well. These etheric temples, inner earth, inside the mountains, and so forth. It's all true. This is all true depending on what part of the frequency spectrum and the reality spectrum you are condensing your attention onto. As you attend to something, so you manifest it. You drop it into reality. Where you place your attention, that is what coalesces for you. You know, some people now in quantum physics circles are calling it collapsing the wave. The wave function is the pure energy. It's all waves of energy. And you collapse that wave, it collapses into physicality. So then the ascension process is the uncollapsing, the dissolving. It is turning water, the physical, into steam. Or an ice cube, some people's bodies are ice cubes, right? Where that frozen in physicality, back into steam. That's the ascended free state, the merged back state. Now, I would suggest that ascension occurs gradually. In other words, a series of steps. There's incremental ascension. It's not all of a sudden one day you turn into fire, spontaneously combust, and go back into a blazing light of glory and gone you are. Maybe that does occur. But generally, from where we come, God is very gentle. Spirit is very gentle. The source of the universe is very practical and apropos, and does exactly what's the next step for that soul. The next step will be another increment, another step, the stairway to heaven. That's why Jacob's ladder, it's such a strong imagery. As the angels descend, some people that see angels will actually see that. Sometimes they'll see them come down a stairs as they're stepping down in frequency, into our frequency. Now remember this. All the frequencies, including the physical, are all God. They're all good. You know, we've come to judge the physical. The flesh is weak and the spirit is better, you know, somehow. Or the upper chakras. These chakras are all good and my lower chakras are bad. That's a bunch of bull. It is all energy, and all energy is meant to be free. All things are meant to come to light again, right? There's been a cutoff. The last few rungs of the ladder of the stairway to heaven have been collapsed, so that we can't reach it. It's sort of like those ladders in New York City, you know, the fire escape ladders. You can't jump up and reach them. We can't reach that because it has been a fall, a disconnect where we have to deal with death. So there are increments of ascension. So about 20 years ago, a friend of mine and I started opening to this, and Kutumi, Saint Germain, El Morya, Babaji, Jesus, and some other masters would come and talk to us etherically, in spirit form, and try to help us in various ways to convince us to take another step into ascensions. into and there's various locks around our chakras. There's a lust lock, there's a fear lock, there's a greed lock, there's a pride ego lock. There's various sort of places where us humans have gotten locked into the fallen state. But like I said, so God is very perfect, surprise, surprise, in what's the next step for each of us, you know. So it's a step-by-step process. It's sort of like if you put 1,000 watts through a 50-watt light bulb, it'll just pop like that. So God can't really put all of Him, that therefore they're saying no one can stand face to face and look upon the face of God and survive. It's too much energy, too much strength. You can as you incrementally head that way. Jesus communes one with the Father, Babaji does, Krishna does, Buddha does. You know, there's enlightened avatar masters that have reached that place where they can be in the holies of holies and be communing with this inner fire, the pillar of fire. Only Moses was allowed to go up on the mountain because he was the only one that could handle that level of direct communion, contact. You know, the holies of holies, the Ark of the Covenant will kill people. Well, it doesn't kill them. It wipes out their energy systems because it's too much to handle. It's 1,000 watts compared to a 50-watt human. So you work up towards this, and it's a gradual increment. Each step can be very ego-destroying, very scary, because you are dissolving parts of you that you thought you were. So I would suggest that this ascension process is a step-by-step process. Now, it might be unique to each individual, to each human as well. God has fun. God's not a cookie-cutter God. Source is not a cookie-cutter source. That's why we're all created different. It's a game of enjoyment of different frequencies. It's like if you had to eat the same food every meal for the rest of your life, some people would be bored to tears. Well, maybe God likes to have different ascension processes a bit for each of us because He's sort of bringing us back home. It's more fun for Him or for her. So one thing to remember, as your ascension process, you're going to feel physically lighter. You're going to feel as if you are turning to light. You're going to feel as if air comes through you. Now this is sometimes going to require that the sludge, the old fallen energies, are going to move out of you, and this can take various processes. You feel cold, you feel hot, you feel heavy, kundalini fire, etc. and so forth. Many different ways. But the main thing I want to talk about today was that it's probably a step-by-step process. And yes, there might be huge graduation steps. For instance, when you finally make friends with death, and you can come and go without having to be unconscious when the angel of death comes to you. That might be a huge final ascension on one level. You know, when you can take your body with you, that's a final ascension. But to get to where you even get a chance at that, that's where maybe the black belt graduation. You need to go through the other belts, usually. Now, there's not just one way of doing it. And maybe some souls can jump to it instantly, but I haven't really seen that. The gentle process is step by step, and the main thing is to ask with your heart, I want more, a closer walk with Thee, more communion, come oneness, communion, more merging. I want more, show me what's next. And don't worry, the universe has an infinite number of ways of supplying you with potential ways of awakening. The courageous step is going to be when the universe suggests that to you. That can be a certain type of relationship with a person that you've never thought of before. It can be a whole new way of seeing things. It can be shedding old stuff, getting rid of things through seemingly harsh ways. It can be allowing in your glory that you've been pushing away, allowing in powers, psychic powers, the ability to read the Akashic records, etc. and so forth. These are expanding ourselves into more of who we really are, both sides of the spectrum. Often it is a letting go of, quote, the bad parts, or the stuck parts, or the dead energy parts, or reawakening those, letting in the glories, and getting rid of the shames, would be one way to say it as well. This ascension process is a gradual, enjoyable process. The key is, after you've gone through the next level of initiation, you feel freer, you feel lighter, you feel happier, more content, more peace, more in charge. You feel less heavy. You feel less of you sometimes. You're becoming nothing. You're becoming simply an instrument. Not my will, but Thy will. are some of the symptoms. So, main thing, ascension is not all of a sudden you're sucked up into heaven. It is a gradual advancing on the frequency dial, just like radio frequency, electromagnetic frequency spectrum. You're stepping up your frequencies in your cells, in your bone marrow, in your brains, in your whole physical body included. Is the merging of the spiritual worlds with the physical till it becomes one energy, one ball of light, eventually. So, ascension is a process, not just a moment, I would suggest. If you want some more of these musings, Awakening Souls on Amazon by Tobias Lars, and Listening to the Sun on Amazon as well by Tobias Lars.